A new year for Elite Dangerous. 2021 is very likely going to be a very big year for the game, with Odyssey being released very soon now. So we're here at the beginning of 2021 and it's time to take a look at everything we know is coming so far in 2021. The biggest thing of the year, of course, is going to be Elite's second paid expansion, Odyssey. This is coming in the first quarter, at least based on the currently available information, and new information is being released on the update all the time. Currently though, we do have a whole bunch of details and I'm going to go through everything we know in this video. First up then, before Odyssey launches, it will be going into alpha for a set period of time. Now this will allow the game to be tested out by players. For alpha access, this will be available to anyone who has pre-ordered the game at the correct level. For all the details on the pre-orders, do check out the links in the video description. Now of course, the biggest detail, the biggest thing about Odyssey is the fact that for the first time it's going to allow players to walk around outside their ships. This covers both on planetary surfaces as well as in the space stations. Now a huge part of Odyssey seems very much to be focused on combat. Of course, we've been assured that not everything is about combat, but based on what information we have, a huge chunk of it will be. And this means that there will be new handheld weapons. These come in a variety of sizes and types, from energy weapons to kinetic weapons. It will include sidearms as well as rifles and hopefully full automatic weapons as well. We can see some examples of these weapons on the screen right now. Suits are also going to be a major part of the game, perhaps one of the largest parts. Suits will be basically how you get around in the environment. There are a variety of different suits. These come in the default suit that we have right now inside our ships, but there will also be an exploration suit as well as a combat suit. A third type of suit will be available for scavenging. Now each suit will have its pros and cons and will be best suited to the type of activity it's designed for. Suits can also be engineered. Odyssey will come with a whole bunch of new engineers. These will be found in various locations and allow players to upgrade suits as well as weapons. Just as with ships right now, where it will be possible to have different builds for weapons, this means it's very likely players would want to own multiple types of the same weapon just to have different builds, possibly for different purposes. Now, much of Odyssey's gameplay will involve settlements and planetary bases. Here, players will be able to go into these areas and interact with them in various types of ways. For example, missions will take place here. These could be relatively straightforward missions such as infiltrating and removing the hostiles, but they could also be assistance style missions where you go into the base and help restore power. On the opposite side of that, it could be sneaking into the base, or fighting your way into the base and cutting the power. There will also be a choice as to how you approach this, so you can go all out combat or you can try and sneak in. In one such example, a player was cutting into a panel in a trailer in order to disable the security systems. Meanwhile, the settlements will be a living thing. It's quite possible that when you're in there, other NPC pirates may drop in on the base in order to take it over. This then will add a level of dynamic events to the game. As for the missions themselves, players will be able to obtain these in a number of ways. There'll be the regular mission boards available inside ships, of course, but also be new mission boards which are available from kiosks. In addition to that, NPCs will from time to time approach players and offer them missions. Some of these may even be based on the player's reputation with that specific NPC and their faction. Talking of factions, the NPCs at bases will change depending on their state with the background simulation. Now, whilst Frontier haven't detailed exactly how the background simulation is going to work with Odyssey, they've been very clear that it will play a part. So we can fully expect to see both bases as well as settlements in different situations based upon their current state. Returning to the subject of combat, Frontier have very frequently spoken of this sphere of combat. This then refers to how combat will take place on multiple levels, from running and gunning through corridors in abandoned buildings, to duking it out in dogfights in the atmosphere, to ascending all the way up into space for conflict zones. Additionally, combined arms means it will be possible for combat to take place between ships, ground vehicles and on foot. Settlements are specifically designed to support this type of combat with various types of defences against all types of attack. Now, we've spoken about the ability to walk around on planetary surfaces in things such as ground bases and settlements, but it will also be possible to walk around inside space stations. Now, whilst it's very clearly not going to be possible to walk around the entire interior of space stations, and this makes sense, after all they're bigger than many cities on Earth, nonetheless players will have many other areas to walk around. These will offer facilities such as the ability to buy weapons and suits. They also have locations where players can pick up missions as well as socialise. Frontier have also been clear to point out that players will be able to visit both the largest of stations, that's the stations that rotate, as well as the static outposts, ones without artificial gravity. That doesn't mean players will be floating around inside these areas though, as they will be dependent upon mag boots. Now, many of these areas, both stations as well as ground bases, will have taxi services. This will allow players to travel between stations and travel between ground bases without having to use their own or even own their own ship. And that leads us very nicely onto another function of Odyssey. The on-foot section and the in-ship section can be played both entirely independently of each other. So if you like Elite as it is right now and want to do everything inside your ship as you currently do, you will be entirely free to carry on doing that. Just as with Odyssey, people on foot won't ever need to set foot inside a spaceship if they don't want to. They'll be able to play the entire game completely on foot. Apparently there's going to be enough content to allow them to do that. But the best approach seems to be a mix and match approach and get involved in both. Odyssey will also come with brand new planetary tech. It seems that all planets have been enhanced, and the planets, from what we've seen so far, actually look very, very nice. They've got nice new ground features, the textures seem to be improved, as does most of the terrain. What's going to please many people, of course, is the introduction of atmospheres. These come in the form of tenuous atmospheres or very light atmospheres. Full heavy atmospheres, such as what we have on Earth right now, will not be available in the game, at least not on launch. But nonetheless, this opens up plenty of new environments and some stunning looking new locations. Now, with new planets, of course, comes new forms of life. This comes in the form of plant-based life and would form the basis of exploration for Odyssey. Players will be able to go out and discover these plants as well as take samples to return and sell. Scavenging, meanwhile, is also going to be a thing. Players will be able to go out across planetary surfaces and locate wrecks. From these, they'll be able to salvage boxes and other loot that they will be able to take back and sell. For the larger objects, it seems they may need to enlist the use of an SRV in order to load the boxes into them and transport them. Now, talking of transportation, it will also be possible to transport other players around. Odyssey will introduce physical multi-crew. This is in addition to the current form of multi-crew. The way multi-crew works right now is through a form of holographic projection. In short, right now when you join another player's ship, you do so as a hologram. With the launch of Odyssey, this form of multi-crew of course will continue, but there will also be another additional form of multi-crew. This will allow you to physically board another person's ship, and they will be able to transport you to another location. Now, Odyssey will be coming to all Elite Dangerous platforms at the same time. This means it will work on consoles as well as PC. Additionally, it will work on the new consoles, the PlayStation 5, as well as the Xbox Series X and S. However, as it stands right now, the new consoles will have no special or enhanced features. There's also not going to be any dedicated new versions for the consoles. Meanwhile, I've seen some questions about the Lifetime Pass. Now, the Lifetime Pass is completely separate to the Horizons Season Pass. The Horizons Season Pass included everything for Horizons and the later expansion called Beyond. The Lifetime Pass, however, is an additional pass that people purchased back during the days of Kickstarter, or a little later on, for around about £125 from the Frontier store. Anyone who holds a Lifetime Pass will not have to pay anything additional for Odyssey. It will be included, and they will also be included to the alpha as well. So that's everything we know so far about Odyssey. That's coming in 2021. Hopefully there will be more details revealed later, and I'm kind of hoping and expecting to see further updates to Odyssey later throughout 2021. There's been no official details on that, but I do kind of have a bit of speculation about that. Now, Galnet is also going to be continuing. That made a massive return in 2020 after a very long time of being absent. Galnet is the in-game news service, and Frontier have a story planned out all the way up to 2022, and hopefully this will extend beyond that as well. As things stand right now, there's a whole bunch of story threads on Galnet, and the plan is that some of these at least will lead directly into the launch of Odyssey. Meanwhile, community goals are going to continue after also making a return, and I'm personally interested in seeing how these actually make an impact when Odyssey comes out. Will there be some on-foot community goals as well? An interesting thought. So that then covers absolutely everything we know so far about Elite Dangerous in 2021. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.